Claude just stopped guessing what's on your chart. Now it reads the thing directly. The raw candles, the indicator values, the price ticks moving underneath, straight out of the TradingView app. No screenshots, no blurry image it squints at and hopes that it gets right. And by the end of this video, you'll have the exact same setup running on your own machine, reading live charts, writing Pine script, and backtesting for you. I'll also show you the 4 things that break because everyone selling you a course on this conveniently leaves those out. My name is Louis and welcome to the AI Bureau. If setups that actually work are your thing, do us a favor and give that like button a tap and hit subscribe. Our research team spends its days taking these tools apart so that you don't burn a weekend on an integration that quietly falls over. Here's the roadmap. What's happening under the hood, what you need before you start, the step-by-step, the 3 use cases that make this worth it, the honest limits, and where this whole thing is actually heading. So let's get into it. Now, before you touch a single setting though, you need to understand the mechanism, because the setup only makes sense once you do. The bridge here is something called MCP, the Model Context Protocol. Put simply, it's an open standard Anthropic introduced back in November of 2024 to let Claude plug into external tools and data sources through one common interface. Think of it as a universal adapter for AI. And it's not some proprietary Anthropic pet project anymore. In December 2025, they donated MCP to the Agentic AI Foundation, a directed fund under the Linux Foundation they set up with Block and OpenAI. And by mid-2026, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and AWS were all using it. Here's the important detail though. There is no official TradingView server for this. None. Everything you're about to build is community-made, and it connects through the desktop app's internal Chrome debug port 9222. The browser version of TradingView does not work for this. It has to be the desktop app, because desktop is built on Chromium, and when you launch it with a debug flag, it opens a local window that Claude can read from. And this is the whole insane leap. The server reads structured data, actually OHLCV values, indicator readings, the Pine editor contents as clean JSON, not a JPEG, not optical character recognition guessing at pixels. It's reading the app's memory. And there's one more thing worth stating plainly because it's the credible move. The chart data itself stays local on your machine. Claude's reasoning still runs through Anthropic's API, so the data you're analyzing does pass through their servers as part of the conversation. But the bridge isn't shipping your charts off anywhere on its own. Now that you know what's happening, let's talk about what you actually need to make it happen. First things first is the checklist. 1. The TradingView desktop app. Signed in, not the browser. 2 is Node.js version 18 or higher. Pro tip here, go with the Node over Python. Python-based servers on Windows have a habit of running into startup issues, and Node just sidesteps that whole headache. 3. Either Claude Desktop or Claude Code, the command line version. Both work, but Code handles the complex multi-step stuff more gracefully. 4, and this one matters for backtesting, a TradingView Pro Plus or Premium plan. The free tier caps you fast and won't give you the deep historical data serious backtests need. 5. The server itself. There are a few forks floating around, but the one I'd point you to is the Jackson fork, Louis W. Jackson, TradingView MCP Jackson on GitHub. It's actively maintained, it ships with a one-shot setup prompt, and crucially, it patches a bug that TradingView Desktop version 2.14 introduced, an update that broke the connection for a lot of the older servers. Quick honesty note before we install anything though. This fork strips out some of the input sanitations from the original upstream repo, so review the code before you run it. That applies to every community server here, not just this one. Okay, so let's build it. I'm going to walk you through this slowly. Step 1. Install TradingView Desktop and sign in with your account. Step 2. Clone the repo. One line, git clone, then the Jackson repo URL. Step 3. Move into that folder and run npm install. That pulls in the dependencies. And while that's taking over, Let me tell you why this next step is the one people get wrong. Step 4. You register the server in Claude's config file. On Mac and Linux, that lives at the .claude folder in your home directory. On Windows, it's inside the Claude folder in your app data. You add a small block that tells Claude to run the server with Node and points it at the server file. And that's it, a handful of lines. Step 5, and this is the part that actually opens the door. You launch TradingView Desktop using the included .bat script on Windows or the .sh script on Mac and Linux. That script injects the remote debugging port flag and opens port 9222. Your normal desktop shortcut will not do this. It has to be the script. If you're on the Windows Store version, well, then that app installs into a protected folder, which is exactly why the fork bundles those launch scripts. Step 6. Restart Claude so it loads the new config. Then run the health check command. If you get cdp_connected true, you're live. Boom. You can now issue your first command against the live chart. Two gotchas to flag before we get into the fun part though. Your TradingView session will eventually expire. The exact window varies, but plan to re-log in periodically to keep the bridge authenticated. And not every indicator input is exposed through the API. Some of the more complex configurations, like volume profile settings, simply aren't reachable, so Claude will occasionally throw an error trying to set one. Now, for the reason you're actually here. The three use cases that make this whole thing worth the setup. Use case 1 is live chart reading. You ask Claude to spot an RSI divergence or check whether your EMAs just crossed, and it reads the actual OHLCV and indicator values of the live chart to answer you. No screenshot, no description. It's looking at the same numbers you are, and it's reading them off directly. Then there's use case 2, and this is the centerpiece. Pine script generation with a self-debugging loop. Here's what makes this genuinely impressive. You describe your strategy logic in plain English. Claude writes it in PineScript version 6, the current standard. The server injects that code straight into the TradingView editor. The editor throws back its compile errors. Claude reads those errors, rewrites the code, and injects it again. And it loops, writing, testing, fixing itself until the thing compiles cleanly. No copy pasting at any step. You describe it like you'd brief a developer, and it hands you working code. That is the single strongest thing that this setup does. Use case number 3 is backtesting. For this, the script has to use the strategy declaration, not the indicator one. That's what activates TradingView's strategy tester. Claude triggers the test, reads the results back, and reports them to you in plain English. Win rate, max drawdown, profit factor, all of it. And there's also a separate server that adds a walk forward tool. It splits your data into training and testing sets, then hands you an overfitting verdict: robust, moderate, weak, or overfitted, which is a brilliant way to catch a strategy that only looks good because it was curve fitted to the past. And a quick word before we go on. If breaking down tools like this is useful to you, then the AI Bureau newsletter is completely free and shows you how to actually get the most out of this once in a generation tech. The link is in the description, or just scan the QR code that's on the screen. Now let's get back to it, because this is where I want to earn your trust. And that is when we talk about the honest limits. This is the part the course sellers skip, so let me slow down. Limit 1 is that it cannot place trades. The bridge is analysis and coding only. There's no path from here to your broker's order system. To actually execute, you need a separate layer, a webhook tool like Pick My Trade, or a proper broker connector. Limit 2. It writes perfect syntax, not a proven edge. Claude will hand you code that compiles flawlessly. It cannot tell you whether that strategy survives the real market. The backtest numbers are only ever as good as the logic you feed it. Limit number 3. This platform is fragile. TradingView desktop updates break the bridge, and version 2.14 is the proof. An update dropped, and connections across multiple community servers stopped working overnight. Limit 4. The terms of service gray area. Say it plainly, using a developer debug port to interact with the commercial platform is not something TradingView officially sanctions. The risk is account suspension, not a courtroom, but it is real. And limit 5. Nobody has audited this code. You're running third-party software with access to your session and your file system. Read it before you run it. So that's the DIY version, warts and all. Now, let me show you why it matters far beyond your own machine. Because while you were building a community hack, the institutions started certifying the exact same idea. On June 1st, 2026, Interactive Brokers launched an official certified Claude connector. No API keys, no config files. You link your existing IBKR account with a secure login, and Claude can pull your portfolio, analyze your exposure, and draft trades in equities and ETFs. Weeks later, they widened it. ChatGPT and Grok were brought in on June 22nd, and that same announcement extended coverage to options, futures, and futures options as well. But here's the guardrail that matters, and it's the whole point. Every AI drafted trade lands in a dedicated AI instructions tab. Nothing executes until a human reviews it and approves it. IBKR built that in deliberately. The AI drafts, the person decides. It is explicitly not autonomous, and that's a design choice, not a shortcoming. And that's the takeaway. The setup you just built is the rough DIY version of what a regulated brokerage is now putting its name on. Same philosophy: read, analyze, draft. Then let a human pull the trigger. The direction is clear. And there you have it, folks. Claude reading live charts off the raw feed instead of squinting at screenshots. Claude writing PineScript version 6 and debugging itself in a loop until it compiles. And Claude running your backtests and handing back win rate and drawdown in plain English, all from a setup that you could stand up in just an afternoon. This was never about handing your money to a bot. It's about compressing hours of chart analysis, coding, and testing into a single conversation, with your hand still on the wheel. So here's what I want in the comments. Would you let Claude draft your trades if a human still had to hit the button? Or is that a line that you won't cross? If this was useful, show that like button some love and subscribe, because we break down how to actually use this technology every single week. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. This is Lewis, signing off.